I'm waiting to see that the attendees side populate, and looks like it has kind of flattened out at 22 and probably pick up a few more along the way. So with that, and probably pick up Danny here momentarily, but with that, I'll call this meeting of the Montoursville Area School District Board of Directors to order on this Tuesday, November 9th, 2021. The time is 7:06 p.m. And I'll ask the secretary to call roll.
Currently, I have Mr. Elver as absent. Dr. Beery?
Right here.
Mr. Kunkel?
Here.
Mrs. Marriott?
Here.
Dr. Mathers?
Here.
Mr. Ruffing is absent this evening. Mr. Schimmel?
Here.
Mr. Snow?
Here.
And Mr. Ulmer.
Present.
Okay, with that, we'll move on the agenda items then. Are there any from administration, are there any recognitions tonight, or do you want to save that for any kind of report later on? Okay, all right. Then our student representative, anything from the student representative?
Today the academic decathlon won first place and the first meet, and there is going to be a play Thursday, Sunday, and Saturday. So that's it.
Thank you, Kayla. All right, if there's nothing else in the way of recognitions, presentations, then we'll move to reading in the minutes. We have the October 12th regular meeting minutes, the October 19th special session minutes, and the October 26th work session. Additionally, I think it was noted along the way, but we had an executive session prior to October 12th meeting for a safety security type presentation from a potential contractor. We have an executive session on the 19th to discuss the contract with the teachers union. And then on the 26th, we had a mandated presentation that the state requires the administration to give to the school boards on safety and security. So we had that prior to the October 26th meeting. And that's my best recollection on them. I don't know if we had any other topics in any of those meetings, but those were some of the key topics for those executive sessions. So as far as the minutes go, then anybody note any amendments or corrections to any of the minutes? If not, then I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. I will move on now to the prior presentation portion of the meeting. And first tonight we'll have Pastor Larry Leland from Faith United Methodist Church joining us. And Tim, he's in the attendees column, so you can move him into the I guess into the Brady Bunch boxes, if you wish, whatever that's called. Okay, Tim, I see promote the panelists, so I'm going to click that now, Tim. Here we see you, Pastor Leland.
All right, thank you. So my name is Larry Leland. I live at 156 Brushy Ridge Road in Montoursville. I'm the parent of an 8th grader at McCall Middle School who is a member of the marching band and Builders Club. Tonight, I'm here as the pastor of Faith United Methodist Church. And John Wesley, the founder of our faith tradition, famously said, "The world is my parish," which is why community connection, support, and involvement are incredibly important to me and to the church I'm privileged to serve alongside. And so as you're comfortable, I invite you to just join me in an attitude of prayer. Let's pray. Loving God, we come to you today asking for your guidance, for your wisdom, and for your support as this meeting begins. Help those who've been entrusted with this work engage in meaningful discussion. Allow them to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community amongst themselves. In the midst of conversation, may their listening be deep and real. In the midst of disagreement, may dignity be shown to everyone. And in every decision, may the education, the growth, and the thriving of all of our community's children remain in the forefront of every mind. Fill this gathering with your grace, Lord, as decisions are made that affect students and staff, faculty and administration, parents, and the community at large. Continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that might be accomplished, is for the pursuit of pride in our community, excellence in preparing students for the future that you have for them, and the best of the tradition that makes this community good. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Pastor Leland. Okay, well. Okay, Tim, if you would move him back over to the attendees list then. I'm not sure how to click that button. All right, now we'll move on to next presentation regarding the Flight 800 Memorial Garden. The presentation, of course, Scott Conkle is our representative to the committee, and with him tonight is Bob Weaver, and I believe the mayor is with us too. So Scott, what do you want to do here next?
Correct. So we'll get started. If Tim, if you could move Mr. Weaver, and he'll say my name's Bob, not Mr. And then Mayor Bagwell so they could speak if they wish during the presentation here. So guys, as you know, I represent the Memorial Gardens Committee for the school board. Mr. Weaver, Bob represents the community members, and Steve has been the representative on behalf of the borough. As you know, we manage the Memorial Gardens along with the borough. And so tonight we gracious to Bob, to Steve, myself, Chuck Grimm, and Wayne Ettinger from Ettinger's Landscaping have been working the last 6 to 8 months or so to come up to the facility as we need some major tender loving care. So, and Brandy has thrown the photo up. So basically I'm going to turn it over to Bob now. He has the narrative that you guys got in your packets. Bob will be reviewing that, and then any questions we all might have for the committee, I entertain that you guys would ask them of the group. So Bob, if you can take it away. And we did give this presentation last night to the Borough Council, and so basically it'd be the same thing tonight. So Bob, if you would take it away.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you, Bob.
Okay, this is Bob Weaver. Scott, thank you for the introduction. Just if I might introduce myself to you all. I was part of the original construction committee when we built the Montoursville Memorial Grounds back in 1997. That started. We finished that construction in 1999. After that was completed, we created a perpetual care committee. And as Scott indicated, since the property is owned jointly by the school district and the borough of Montoursville, there always was a representative from the borough, from the school district, and a community member large. I have been that community member large since 1999. We've come to realize that the site is in need of some attention, particularly the walk. I'm not sure if any of you have been on the site recently. We were on the site on Saturday. We had the Key Club help us rake leaves, and we've always appreciated their willingness to volunteer time to help us maintain the site. But the walk is heaved significantly from tree roots. The plan that is on the screen, the proposal is to move the walk inward to make the diameter smaller, further away from the trees. The brick walk would be removed, the trees would remain. Wayne Ettinger has worked with us to help us with some estimates, some materials. He's helped us identify some materials, some concrete pavers for that walk. The hemlocks along both sidelines are dying. There's a disease that affects hemlocks. I'm not sure the name of that disease. As Wayne told us 25 years ago, those were good choices. Today, not so much so. So the proposal is to remove those trees and replace that with an arborvitae screen planting. As Scott indicated, the Borough Council approved this last night. Since the school district is co-owner of the property, we request the school district input and approval of this concept as well. The next thing that we'll be looking to do is put some kind of a fund drive together so that we can raise the $121,000 needed to make the improvements to the site. If we don't raise all the funds, we'll phase the project. We certainly need to do the walk first because that is somewhat of a hazard. So I guess the thing we would ask for is the school board's approval to move forward with the project. And we wanted to do that before we began any kind of a campaign to raise funds for the project. So I guess that's all I need to say at this point in time. And if there's any questions, or we might also acknowledge Brandy Smith, the business manager, has been very helpful in coordinating meetings and getting folks together. She's cared for the funds and reports the funds to us on a regular basis. Mayor Bagwell has stepped in and been the borough's representative, and we appreciated his input as well. Any questions on what you see, any of the narrative, any of the things shown in the plan that we can address for you?
Bob, this is Dave Schimmel. Do you have a timeline in mind on I guess for starts, the approval from the district, and then just a timeline for the project, how you'd optimally like to see it,
Sure, we have talked about that. We would like to start we're going to have a meeting to review how we want to put a funding campaign in place, but we would like to start that almost immediately. And we would like to construct the project next year in the spring, if possible, if all the funds are raised. One of the things you will note in the narrative, we do have a donor who is willing to donate $25,000 to this project, but the string he attached to that is he wants to see that all the money is in place to do the entire project. So it would be our desire to raise all those funds and build this project next year. We're looking to work with Ettinger's as our contractor. Ettinger's built the original site. They've maintained this site and donated lots and lots of time over the past 25 years. So we have, they've quoted the project. They will be our contractor of choice and build the project for us. But we'd like to do it next year. If we don't raise all the funds, then it would have to be obviously be put off until the funds are in place.
Steve, are you able to speak? I didn't know if Steve had any comments, so. He's shy.
Board, any additional questions?
So did they say we'd have to make a vote on that? So should that go on one of the agendas in the near future to vote to proceed with that?
Yeah. And we can I guess well, we have this sort of lapse over into buildings and grounds as well as the Memorial Garden, both. So either one of those committees can usher in work with the superintendent to have an agenda placed on the, for next, I think next month. Obviously there's nothing that suggests that this isn't something we wouldn't want to do. We certainly do want to do this, I think. But we'll have it on the agenda for next month, I would think. But I'll talk to, Scott, you're still on for a little while, and at least for another few days.
We were hopeful that we would seek approval tonight. Is there an issue with having that vote tonight?
Yeah, we aren't allowed to do that anymore. Agenda items can't be added during the meeting unless they're of an urgent and critical nature, and you might indicate this is not a critical nature. So it probably wouldn't pass muster with some new standards or new statute that prevents that.
Okay, all right.
But,
all right.
I think
I was not familiar with your protocol. Okay, thank you for answering that question.
That's rather new. That's only been in place that statute's only been in place about 4 months, so 3 or 4 months. But I think it's worth reflecting your sentiment on this project at the very least, so Bob and the committee know how we feel about it. In other words, do you like it? Say something.
I appreciate all the work that has gone into this memorial over the many, many years since that tragedy occurred. And certainly I don't want to see this go into disrepair. So I think the plans look really good. And some people might question if we got another bid, but since Mr. Ettinger has been donating a lot of his services over the years, I think that only goes to say that we should go with them.
And is that it'll be fun? It's not coming out of district budgetary funds, right? It's a fundraising effort that hopefully will get the whole amount, and if not, it'll be done in phases. Did they say?
Correct.
Well, the request is it's part of our buildings and grounds, and so it needs some upkeep. So the question will be, as a board, what will we be willing to contribute towards this project? And so that's something that the board wants to be thinking about, and perhaps the committee between the Buildings and Grounds and Memorial Gardens Committee, they could propose, recommend an amount to the board for consideration as our contribution, because there is our maintenance involved here. Our facility maintenance is involved.
We made the same request to Borough Council last night. We asked them to consider contributing to the project financially as well, Mr. Schimmel.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If I can just interject here, the Memorial Gardens is a separate fund account, and as they had said, they will be doing a fundraiser, and the general fund can contribute towards that fundraiser if they would like. That would have to be a board motion that is approved. On a regular basis, the school does provide regular maintenance to the Memorial Gardens. We go through, we clean it up, we mow it, and do maintain it. So we do contribute on a regular basis to the Memorial Gardens. I just want that to be known. But yes, we can make a donation to it if we determine that it is so needed.
We could see how the community involvement goes as well, maybe before we decide on a donation. Something to think about.
Before we arrive at a final amount, something you're saying, Donnie, is just, okay. All right, well,
I just want to say that, and to add to what Mrs. Mathers said, I see in the presentation here that Eddingers are continuing to volunteer and apply weed and feed to the lawn at no cost. So they not only have put a lot of their time and money into this free of charge, they're continuing to do so.
And up front, guys, the drawings and stuff, to my knowledge, Wayne has not even asked for a dime to do the work at a time here. So I think he does contribute a lot. I know he does.
The committee has put in a tremendous amount of time with
And he's
him.
been a great resource to the committee.
Yes, I will agree. He's helped tremendously with the committee. The committee has met several times to go over different plans. The plans have been changed a few times to make it to what it, represents the memorial. And he has spent a lot of time, and it has all been free of charge.
Well, at the very least, we can certainly then publicly express our thanks to him for what he has done and what he's committed to doing, and just with a sincere and great appreciation for what he's done. It's thank you very much.
Dave, I
Yes.
have a question.
Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, has the Perpetual Care Committee considered, presenting to the foundation to see, what help perhaps the foundation could play with the fundraising? And on the fundraising, was consideration given to also look to fundraise an additional amount to put into the perpetual care? I really would encourage a higher target than just the site renovations itself.
Hey,
Can I
Dale.
speak to that, Can I speak to that, Mr. Ulmer?
Oh, yes, and yep.
We have not yet really put in place any thoughts on how we're going to raise the funds, including the foundation. We felt it was most important to have both bodies approve this, as well as the budget, before we initiated any kind of contacts to raise funds. We just didn't feel it was appropriate to be talking about raising funds until we have the plan approved.
Yeah, I didn't mean to imply that you needed to do that prior. I just was looking for kind of the long-term plan, Bob.
Right.
Yep.
We would certainly want to talk to the foundation and any other ideas that any board members or council members have to assist with fundraising. We would love to hear them.
Yep. Did you talk at all, Bob, about augmenting that maintenance fund?
You're talking about the perpetual care fund now?
Yes.
Yes.
And kind of fundraise for that as well.
Yes, the 121,000 is the construction. Would we like to raise more than that so we can continue to have a perpetual care fund? Absolutely. We would like to add to that, but at a minimum, we want to raise at least those funds to care for the construction that needs to take place.
Yep. Sounds great, Bob. I love the plan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Dale, I think you just talked yourself into being invited to the fundraising committee when we get together here.
I will be happy. In fact, we had a foundation meeting last night, and I planted a seed.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Your heart has been in this. You chaired this before I did. So I took it from you when you left the board. So I have a feeling that it might pop back in your lap.
Yeah, well, I certainly still have maintained that interest.
I know you do. Thank you.
Well, Bob, I think you can say there's a sentiment that we're behind this, and you'll get the formal action on that. You should anticipate that next month. So
Okay,
don't
very
think-
good.
Yeah.
In the meantime, if there's any other questions or anything that's not clear, please let us know and we can address them at your next meeting if necessary. Otherwise, we would just ask for a vote in support of the project so we can move forward with fundraising.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
For all your work, Bob.
Yep,
Thank you,
thanks,
Scott.
Bob. Scott?
Yes, Dale.
Oh, just saying
Okay.
thanks.
Okay.
And thank
You're
you
quite
to
welcome.
Mayor Steve as well.
Yeah. He's
It's
shy.
nice to see that borough representation.
Absolutely. And he's done a great job.
Tim, you can go ahead and move Bob and Steve back over to the attendee side. All right, with that, now we'll move to Joe Naffo's. Joe, will you have a presentation or are you just available to answer questions regarding the roofing project?
Hello, everybody. Not really a presentation. I gave you guys all a letter. First off, I want to thank Jen and the bigger, less hairy Jen up there for all that they've done for our district. Honestly, thank you. So yeah, I'm just here to answer questions. I just threw it out there so we can start talking about stuff. I'm not trying to shove anything down anybody's throat. I want the whole board to talk about, the new board, so we can just get going on. This should have been done many years ago, and we now need to get talking about it. So.
Board, do you have any questions for Joe at this time?
I have a question, Joe. The replacement of the roof on the maintenance garage is the quotes are from I forget the name of the company now. You'll remind me.
The
Between-
WT main company that holds that.
Say that again. I was talking over you.
Weatherproofing Technologies Incorporated. They're
Right,
the ones that
right.
rest the district. Yeah.
And they gave two quotes, one for a build-up roof and one not build up. And it's a 20-year guarantee on or warranty on both of them. One's for 145,000, the other's 170,000. My question is for an expenditure of that size. Aren't we required to request or put it out to bid, request bids?
We can do that, but if a companies that we use a purchasing network through Pennsylvania, such as KPN, Pepum, or CoStars, any school district or state, anybody that uses state money can use one of those contractors. That keeps everybody on an even playing field. So nobody can get off beating anybody else to a price. Like I buy my vans, all those cars, everything we buy is through a CoStars. So nobody can price somebody else and lowball them. So
That's state contract, correct?
that's correct. Yep.
But are you saying that you can guarantee that putting it out for bids there wouldn't be a chance that you could get a better bid on it?
No,
Is that what you're?
not saying that at all. That could very well lower it because you have opposing companies. That's not always saying you're going to get a good product or you're going to get the same roofs we have in the rest of the district. You know how low bidder is. We don't know what that price would be, but I can't answer to if that would be the same or less.
Well, before and we're not okay in this project right now, but hopefully in the near future, because we all agree that it is something that needs done. And I agree with that too, Joe. But would it be possible to put it out for bids just to see what comes in?
That would be more, I guess, a question for Ms. Smith. I don't know what the bidding process, because then you'd have to probably get some architectural people involved to write up a contract. I don't know that whole stuff. Because when we did the water heater job, we had to have a lot of money tied up in design and we had a spec, book and all stuff like that. So I can't really answer to what we would bid that out. Brandy may.
We can look into it more, Joe.
Okay. I mean, it's something we can look into, Ron. The only thing I do like, and is that the same company does all 4 buildings. I would love to keep them all the same, to have it the same company, same materials. That's just the one thing. It would be nice, but we can do whatever.
And I understand your feelings on that. It's just that I know that competition out there sometimes it's good for competition sometimes. And like you say, you don't always take the low bid if it's inferior quality work or materials, but it would be nice to see what if there's any other companies that would be interested in it that would have quality materials and that. That's all I am concerned with.
There's only
If we put,
sorry, Dale.
oh, no, just a quick question on what Ron was asking about. If we put it out for bids, are we required then to accept the low bid?
I don't think you're required at all to
No,
accept
we're
any
not.
bid. Okay.
We can accept whichever bid best fits are the needs of the district. We don't have to accept low bid.
Thank you.
The only small concern I have with other companies, and this is just from history, is I know years ago at the Valley, there was a subpar roof put on by another company. And I guess it caused a lot of havoc. And after 5 years, I believe this roof was removed and put down by WTI. I don't know the total history, but I do know that had to be taken off and removed. I just didn't want another one of those situations again. That's all.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Hey, board, if there's no more questions for Joe, we hear that need, and that's a project that will be, well, it's not going to go away. It's going to get closer and closer to needing our approval. So, all right, this time we'll move on to the public comment section of the meeting, and this is a time where the public, the residents and taxpayers of the district are permitted to speak about matters of concern regarding the district, any actions the board has taken or actions the board is deliberating on, and the public is given 1 3-minute unpause time frame to speak to us. So at this time, we'll open up the public comment period, and those who wish to speak, raise your hand in the window, and we'll get to you. And please remember to tell us where you live, your name and where you live.
Good evening. Sharon
Yes.
Meyer, Fairfield Township. There's just a few things I wanted to go over this evening. First, I wanted to address the update to the close contact flow chart. I know I've written you all a few times about this. I know others have as well. So I was a little disheartened, to say the least, to not see it on the agenda for this evening. I know that the first thing that needs to be addressed on the close contact flows chart is that it needs to actually have some consistency between our own health and safety plan. It needs to allow for the exception as stated by the CDC of the 3 feet and the wearing of the mask. I know there is an argument that they are children, so they aren't wearing them consistently and correctly. And this really is hard, because what's even the point of us complying with the mandate if we can't allow our children the benefit of the doubt that they are indeed wearing them consistently, correctly, therefore excluding them from the close contact quarantine. Also on our HCP is the exclusion from quarantine if they've had previously had COVID. This is not reflected anywhere in the close contact flow chart. Our HCP was written in July, and the fact that this is not already in there is really honestly shameful. Just yesterday, the Lancet, there was an article entitled Protective Immunity After Recovery from SARS-CoV-2 Infection, and it concluded that given the evidence of immunity from previous infection, policymakers should consider previous COVID infection equal to vaccination. We do actually have this in our HCP, but as a district, we aren't following it. I ask that immediate consideration be given to updating the close contact flow chart as soon as possible so that otherwise healthy children are not missing school needlessly. My second point I've also written you about is to request for the district to have a 360 feedback on leadership and administration. This is not to replace the formal evaluation, but the 360 is a powerful way for leaders to find out about their strength and potential developmental needs. By having feedback from a range of employees within the district, it also allows the leader to identify how perceptions might differ across the range of people. I can't imagine why anyone would not welcome a 360 review. It only allows a true leader to develop, and in fact, if used effectively, can reduce employee turnover and increase retention. My third and final point is I would also like to request that you vote yes to return to in-person meetings in December. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Brenda Oberheim, 192 Woodland Court. I believe that the school board meetings need to return to back in person and not in Zoom. Also, I'd like to reiterate that we do not need an assistant superintendent, only a curriculum director. Our district needs curriculum badly, and curriculum is very expensive. We should be saving money for curriculum and help for our teachers. We should not waste money on the assistant superintendent when our district has 200 and some less students than it had when our current superintendent started working for the district. Many teachers in our district are very discouraged that our board is coddling Mrs. Basin and her over asks of our district instead of saving money for upcoming expenses of curriculum and building expenses. Once someone is hired for an assistant superintendent, the position cannot go away unless bought out. Also, the curriculum director that is chosen cannot be another one of Mrs. Basin's hires or favorite picks. We do not completely trust her hiring choices. This curriculum position needs to be chosen with thought and care and concern for the conservative nature of the majority of our district. This person will be in charge of choosing what the students in the district learn for the next few years, which had better not be taken lightly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, Corey Flick, 315 Cypress Street in the borough. I was just scanning over some of the budgetary publications that the school board puts up on the website. I just wanted to update some of my fellow taxpayers on the legal fees incurred by the district in defense of the frivolous lawsuit brought against the district and the superintendent by Mark and Brenda Oberheim, Jessica and Eric Steinbacher, Jason and Brittany Little, Corey and Kara Smith, Mark and Rachel Britt, Chasney and Curtis Twig, Galahad and Christy Mallory, and Brenda and Greg Stapp. From the September 14th agenda on page 19, check number 61474 was wrote out to the Levin Legal Group for $17,879. 2 months later, on November 9th, check number 61830 was written out to the legal group in the amount of $7,907. So to date, the total to defend the school district and the superintendent against the plaintiffs is $25,786. Recently, there was a motion to dismiss filed on the 14th. Greg Stapp then filed a brief in opposition on the 28th of October. And to date, Judge Brand has not formally ruled on whether or not to dismiss the wholly frivolous lawsuit brought against the district and the superintendent. So needless to say, I'm frustrated as a taxpayer that we've now wasted over $25,000 when we have more prudent costs, i.e. the roof that was discussed earlier tonight. So I just hope this issue is resolved so that we can get back to spending money on more pertinent things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Schimmel, could I ask a question?
During the public comment section, let's let the public finish, and then we can go and jump to the board if the board has any questions.
Okay.
Hello.
Carol, go ahead, introduce
Oh,
yourself.
yeah. Okay, I'm here. Carol Johnson, 148 Hampton Way, Montoursville. First, I want to thank you all for the whole effort in the Memorial Gardens. My kids, when they went, knew a lot of those children, and I think that that's such a great project and should be continued and taken care of. The second thing is I'm here to ask, I believe it's on the agenda tonight, to review with the board members their hopeful decision about opening the meetings in person. Make them more personal. I understand the masking issue, and I'm trying to be hopeful that the public would make decisions that are congenial to all, follow your rules there, and so that we can continue an in-person dialogue about any subject regarding the children. And look to the future, as I believe I understand that the Montoursville School District does not have CRT type teachings in their curriculum. I would just like to see the board members be educated greatly on the ups and the downs, mostly the downsides of that whole curriculum. And hopefully our Montoursville district will not enter into any of those curriculum teachings. I believe that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. This time I don't see any more hands up. So Tim, if you would close that window, and we'll continue with the meeting agenda. There will be another comment period at the end of the meeting as well. Ron, you had a question?
Yes, and this is a question for Brandy. Brandy, could you give the board the invoices, send the board the invoices for the 11 legal group that has to do with that lawsuit, please?
I will get those out to you as soon as I can. I am out of the office until Friday, so it might not be until Friday.
That's
okay. That's all, Dave.
Okay. Okay. Well, now we're on to the business manager's report. So Brandy, what do you have for us?
All right. You've received the copies of the treasurer's reports for the period ending October 31st, 2021 for the general fund and the cafeteria fund. We are submitting those to the board for your consideration of approval.
Move to approve.
Move to approve. Second.
Any questions?
Yeah, I just have one question. The information that I have found researching says that the USDA is supplying all meals free to all students in Pennsylvania. My question, Brandy, is how does that, I mean, how is that affecting our budget when, I mean, we had money budgeted for for the cafeteria fund and cost attributed to the meals. Is that going to be 100% savings on that money that was budgeted because the USDA is picking up those free meals?
Okay, so there's several pieces to this, and I wasn't prepared to speak on this, so I'm speaking off the cuff right now. But the food service, we pay a certain dollar amount to our food service contracting company to supply those meals. It is, I believe it's around 290 something. I would have to look at the contract. That's not an exact number. And that's for lunches or for all meals. But so the USDA supplies us with a dollar amount for lunches and then a different dollar amount for breakfast. We pay the $1 amount for all meals. So whether it's breakfast or lunch. Where we are able to exceed that amount is when we sell a la carte meal items. So if someone comes up and just buys a piece of pizza or a fruit selection or milk or something is where we see our revenues come in. But typically we see from our general meals where we come in, where students come in and get a meal at the high school level, it's 2 fruits, 2 vegetables, and an entree and a milk. They're getting all that for one price. And we're seeing that as more of a break-even process because we have food service employees contracted through the nutrition group, and we have our own food service employees also. So that brings in a little bit of a difference there. And we're just finishing up the audit with everything, and we'll see a better picture of how we performed last year in the next month or so with the audit. And I believe this year will be a better reflection of how we're going to do this year. I do not have any concerns at this point with our food service revenues, if that answers your question.
Well, with the US, so the USDA pays up to a certain amount per meal, correct?
Correct, yes.
If the student wants to have something that over that amount that they pay, then the student's responsible for that unless they're on free and reduced lunch. Is that correct?
No, that is incorrect. So every student is entitled to a breakfast and a free lunch. If they want anything beyond that, they are responsible for it. So even if they are on free meals and they want something beyond the free lunch, they still have to pay for that.
Okay, so what you're saying though is the amount we're going to get from the USDA doesn't cover our complete costs.
For the most part, it is at this point. We just have to evaluate our costs. We ran a summer program over the year, and the cost of running that summer program were a little bit more than our revenues coming in. And it's a little bit different for us because it's an SSO program, which we are not usually in. An SSO program is a seamless summer option program. And with that program, all kids eat free. And that program runs from October to September. So it's on a different calendar year than what we're used to. But we still run on a July to June calendar year. So it's a little bit funny for us. But the costs that the revenue that we're receiving for the lunches that are free is coming out to about a break even. So we're not making extra money on those free meals. Where we're making our money is on the a la carte items that we're getting from the kids. So like when the kids have ice cream Fridays at the elementary school, that's where we're making our profits from, if we're making any profit. When they buy the extra food at the high school level or the extra lunch at the high school level, because some of these kids, they come in and they get their free meal and then they buy another meal because they're hungry and they want to eat more. They're in sports, they're in activities, and they want to eat more. So that's where we're making our extra revenue.
What I'm saying is, when the budget was figured out, there was approved, there was so much money budgeted for the cafeteria fund, or for lunches and breakfast for the cafeteria. So that was figured in the budget without anticipating that USDA was going to give every student free breakfast and lunches, correct?
Correct.
So-
But that
so-
was the fact that students would be paying for it at that point. So whether the revenue coming from the federal government or the revenue is coming from the parents, it's about the same.
Okay. Now,
It's coming from a different direction.
that last sentence explained it all for me.
Okay. And if you have further questions, let me know and I can sit down with you and go through it with you.
But we
Okay.
still should,
Brian?
yes, but we still should be in the black, we'll put it that way.
I'm confident that we are still
Yep.
doing, I had a concern, bring it to you.
Okay,
Okay?
yep, thank you.
You're welcome.
Brandy, 2 years ago, Brandy, 2 years ago, we did turn a profit in the cafeteria funds, correct?
Correct. We're going to turn a profit for the prior year too.
Yeah, because,
Everything's not finalized yet. So
yeah,
I really bring
because
it
we
to
had
you.
to, yeah. Yeah, we had to reinvest that profit because we're not allowed to make a profit, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And the food
Which,
service. fund
again,
is
it was
doing-
shocking for me. Food services traditionally always lost money. So 2 years ago to turn a profit was shocking.
Well, Kristen Stevenson, our food service director, is doing an amazing job. And she has been working with the staff, and our food service staff is amazing. And, you know, they are really working very hard. We have had several, issues with items not coming in on trucks, us not being able to get things. And they have really worked through it and readjusted menus last minute. And they're doing an excellent job working through all the issues that we're having this year. So they do really deserve a round of applause for everything that they're doing.
Yes, and am I correct? The nutrition group is also looking to do participate in the EITC program? Are you aware of that?
I'm not sure I'm knowledge of that, so I would have to check with them.
Okay, I think I heard reports of that in the foundation meeting last night. Anyway,
I was
thank you.
not at that foundation meeting, so, and Kristen did not bring that to my attention, but that doesn't mean she's not working on something, because she's always working on bettering the program.
Randy, we've had the questions and have that idea of turning a quote unquote profit, but we reinvest that. Could you take a moment and describe for the public what we do with those, with that quote unquote profit?
Okay, so our food service point of sale system was very old and not as user friendly as it needed to be. So we did reinvest some of that into our point of sale, and that's where parents saw the new way, the system switched over a couple years ago, where we had them going in and using their credit card a little bit different, seeing their children's account a little bit differently. So we've invested in the new point of sale system. We have the kids with the IDs, being able to scan them at the elementary level. Just putting the money back into our cafeteria with some equipment that needed to be replaced and stuff like that is how we've reinvested some of that. We are required to spend a certain percentage of that. We can only have 3 months worth of proceeds on hands at any given time. So we can't be profiting money from that. And there are two separate funds. The general fund is a separate account from the cafeteria fund. So they have to be handled differently.
And if I'm not mistaken, Brandy, doesn't that money have to be used in the cafeteria system. It cannot be used for anything else.
That is correct, Mr. Snell.
Okay, if there's no more questions on that particular topic, why, Brandy, you can carry on.
I believe it's you.
Yeah, I think we're ready for a vote.
Yes.
Oh, we, okay. Oh, all right, I guess that was a rather lengthy discussion. Okay. All right, all in favor of approving the general fund and cafeteria treasurer report, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, now we'll move on.
Thank you all for the great conversation. I will see if Kristen Stevenson can get on to one of our meetings here shortly and give us a little bit more of an update on the food service, because again, she is doing an awesome job. There is no budgetary transfers this evening. I suspect we will start having some of those start coming about here in December. So you'll start seeing those again. We never really have them too much in the beginning of the year. They start coming about mid-year. So we'll probably have some then. The presentation of the bills, you've received copies of the listing of invoices for the fund and the cafeteria fund for the period ending November 9th, 2021. You're submitting these to the board for your consideration of approval and payment.
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions, comments?
I have a few questions. Check number 61933 made out to App Garden for $3,600 for a facility tracker. Is there anybody here tonight that can explain what that program is?
I don't believe there's anyone here that's really familiar with it. I can give you a brief explanation of it. And that is our use of facilities request app. So when they go on and they request to use the facilities, I believe that is that app through there.
And that's a yearly cost?
Yes, that is a yearly cost.
Okay, the next question I have is check number 61906 for $1,544.16 for 3 dance floors for a Sunday.
Yes, that would have been, and I do not see anyone here from the high school, so I'll speak on behalf of that too. That would have been the homecoming dance. The homecoming dance they had out in the practice field, the practice football field out alongside in between the school and the stadium. And they put the dance floors in because that field is very, it's ups and downs, and you would have had the females wearing the heels and stuff like that. So they put a dance floor in for the homecoming dance out there. And the homecoming was held on a Sunday this year because of other activities going on. And the students were off of school on the following Monday.
And the last thing I have is check number 61872 to rent a van to go for the mock trial students to go to Harvard. My first question is, why are we renting a van when we have 2 vans?
Okay, again, I'm going to answer with no one being here, and I'm going with speculation. So I can follow up with a little bit more detail, hopefully later on. Well, I'll be back in the office Friday, but so typically the vans are signed out on a daily basis for other sports, other activities. Our vans are used frequently. And this was taking them away, I believe, for a whole weekend, whereas the vans were probably being used for other events. So it has been common in the past that she would rent a van and then the district would reimburse it to take those students up there, just because our vans are needed for other events at that time.
Okay, and I just want to say that's not my biggest concern with this. My biggest concern is with safety. And let me share a personal experience with you with the place that this van was rented. A month and a half ago, myself and some others rented a van from this same exact place. We had a retired state police man was the driver. And that van was not safe to be on the road. And that retired state policeman can confirm that. And so I just want to let the district know, I'm hoping that somebody makes sure our students are safe when these vans are getting rented, because that was my biggest concern with this one. And that's all I have. Thank you.
And knowing the teacher, I'm sure that, you know, she would want to feel comfortable in driving something and wouldn't drive something that was comfortable. But Mr. Snell, I will definitely pass the information on so the administration is aware of it. Thank you.
And Brandy, I don't know how many vans he has to rent, but just so you know why this van was unsafe for the road, we was going down 15 and when like I said, he was a retired state cop. He wasn't just anybody off the street. When he put on the brakes, the front brakes were metal to metal.
Okay. I will pass that information along. Thank you, Mr. Snell.
Yep.
Any more questions regarding the bills? If not, Brandy, would you take a roll call?
Certainly, Mr. President. Dr. Beery.
Yes.
Mr. Kunkel.
Yes.
Mrs. Marriott.
Yes.
Dr. Mathers.
Yes.
Mr. Schimmel.
Yes.
Mr. Snell.
Yes.
And Mr. Ulmer.
Yes.
All right. Moving forward, you'll see that there is a resolution here to approve tonight not to exceed the Act 1 index. I thought this was important to bring to the board early on. I have started working with the administrators a little bit here on preparing for the budget for the following year. And looking at the Act 1 index, it allows for a 4.4% increase this year for our school district, which is a 0.71 mils or a $557,000 increase, which takes our millage to 16.94. I'm not saying that we're going to go that high. I'm just saying right now we are committed to working as an administrative team to not going over that index. And we would like for you to pass that resolution tonight so that we know we are committed to those and staying in within that as we get prepared to present to you some budget information come early next year.
Sorry, Brandy, can you say those numbers again about the mills and the index?
Yeah, so we are allowed, Act 1 index allows us to go to a 4.4% increase this year, which comes out to, for us, a 0.71 mils increase, or our increase in our revenue from local taxes of $557,000, which carries out to about in mills 16.94. We're currently at 16.23. So I'm just asking that you pass the resolution, which commits the administration to staying within the Act 1 index as we move forward. So.
Does that conclude your report, Brandy?
That is everything.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to the next item then. In the superintendent's report, you've received some emails with a variety of items that she's updated this. And at this time then we'll, I guess, piggyback on that with administrative reports. And Mr. Myers, I see you over there to my left. So what do you have for us?
Good evening, everyone. This Thursday, we celebrate Veterans Day. Again, we have Mr. Chris Morgan playing the taps at the beginning of the day. We're fortunate to have Savannah Farley. She'll read our yearly announcement concerning Veterans Day. And then we'll have a dress down day with all the monies going for the GI Go fund at the end of the year. Congratulations to our new student council members, our executive board. We have Grace Barkuskas is the president, Leah Beislein is vice president, Lindsay Garber is secretary, Marissa Whitmer, treasurer, and president-elect is Austin Davidson. Recently, our McCall Against Bullying poster contest, I'd like to congratulate our winners there. We had a tie for third place with Gabe Person and Noah Chow. Second place was Ruby Watts, and our first place winner was Bella Aldinger. So congratulations to those students. And finally, I'd like to report we're very fortunate that we are going to receive $8,500 worth of grant monies through the PPNL and through the Motorsville Foundation through the EITC grant. So we thank you all for your support. We're going to purchase some additional Sphero robots and Vex robotics with those funds. So stay tuned for future reports on those. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Mr. Hunter, what do you have for us?
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to update you on my entry plan into the district as I continue to transition into my new role in Montoursville Area School District. During this past month, I've had the opportunity to get into our classrooms and meet with all the special education teachers individually. They have been able to share with me their perspectives and specific information about our students. I've also met with many parents during IEP meetings. A couple things coming up: the Pennsylvania Alternate System of Assessment update. The Pennsylvania Alternate System of Assessment was developed in accordance with this allowance to meet the needs of students with the most significant cognitive disabilities who are not able to participate in the general assessment, even with accommodations. The PASS is aligned to the Pennsylvania's academic content standards with a reduction in depth and breadth evidenced by the alternate eligible content, and measures the attainment of knowledge and skills of children with significant cognitive disabilities through various performance tasks. Like the statewide standardized test, the purpose of the PASS is to provide information to school districts and other educational service providers that will aid them in improving instruction for our children. The enrollment window is from January 5th, 2022 to March 7th, 2022. And the testing window starts on March 14th, 2022 and runs through May 20th, 2022 as well. The next update I have for you is on our special education plan. The Pennsylvania Department of Education is responsible for ensuring that all special education programs in schools are appropriate and effective. To do this, school districts must submit a special education plan every 3 years to PDE as required by Pennsylvania School Code. Each school district is divided into 3 phases. We are categorized as a phase 3 school district, and originally our special education plan was due the spring of 2021. Due to the pandemic, the due date was extended to March 1st, 2022. And this past week, I just received notice that the due date has now also been extended till July 30th of 2022. So we do have some time on our hands that we can start working on that special education plan and make sure that's submitted in the proper deadlines.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Yonkin.
I guess I just want to start out tonight by.
You got the pie cleaned off, by the way, right? You got the pie cleaned off.
Got the pie and the duct tape off, so it's been a painful but fun month. So, I want to start first though, and give a big thanks to all my staff out at the Valley. You know, obviously we continue to try to get some subs in and stuff, and it's a battle everywhere. It's just not in Montoursville. But I guess it's not just our staff at the Valley, it's at the high school, middle school, and at Leiter. I know a lot of teachers and the other admin were here, they'd be saying the same thing. The teachers and the pairs that are stepping in, giving up some of their time to help cover classes, why a bunch of the other people are out due to COVID or other sicknesses and health issues and not having those normal subs that we have. So just want to give thanks to all those staff for helping out without hesitation. Just kind of running through my report, the walk-a-thon, pep rally, the cheerleaders from the high school coming out. It was a great event that day. The kids had a good time. The cheerleaders are great. They really encourage the kids. And I think even yesterday, I still heard kids chanting pie in the face when I walked by. So they enjoyed it, gave something to work towards. I've also included for everybody some of the big incentives that we've identified for our kids to earn coming up in November. We're going to have a little petting zoo coming out to the Valley that kids can earn with their points. Got like a popcorn and a movie day we're going to have in December, and then a snowball challenge in January, dance party in February. We're planning a trip to Fly World that the kids can earn for March, and then the fancy meal that we're going to have in April, and then water balloon come May, and then I guess it's back to me getting hammered again in the dunk tank come June. So, but it's really neat to see if you all come out and see our PBIS program and how it runs, because we're really teaching these kids to save too, and to earn these prizes instead of just spending them on something frivolously like a lollipop or something like that. They're saving and earning bigger prizes. So that's pretty cool to see. Provided some pictures and stuff of our kids from our fall fun day with the pumpkins up that they all decorated. That looked pretty awesome in front of the Valley, as well as the Ag Day that occurred out at Mr. Hepburn's farm that Mr. Tucker and the Ag kids put on. As for me, as fun as it was to watch our kids interact in that environment, it was probably just as impressive for Mr. Tormina and Tucker to watch those Ag kids run those different groups of presentations. I was very impressed with the high school kids and how well versed they were in their special that they had to present on. So kudos to those kids. Fire prevention. We didn't think that was going to happen, and with the help of the Williamsport Fire Department, as well as Plunkett's Creek, and I know Mr. Conkle was out there, really put together a really nice presentation for the kids. They really enjoyed that. And then the annual trunk or treat that takes place out at the Valley, that was my first experience of that. We had a little bit of rain, but it didn't seem to discourage anybody. We had a great turnout. Even had Trooper McMunn of the state police come out, who's starting to do some stuff to get more community involvement. Even worked with her and Mrs. Weiler. We're going to try to get her involved as part of our Peace Patrol, which we're getting ready to get started. We just inducted 22 fourth graders into that. So I'm excited. It's going to be my first year doing that. So that's I'm going to have fun. We're going to have fun with that too. Speaking of Miss Weiler, she did an awesome job of organizing our Red Ribbon Week at the end of October. The picture on there of all the donation items that the kids brought in to help the Lycoming County SPCA, the American Rescue Workers, and then the Harvest for Hope Food Bank. Kids dressed up differently each day based on the theme and brought in items to donate. And we finished up our parent-teacher conferences for 2 days. It went extremely well. A lot of the majority of our conferences were face-to-face, but we did offer the opportunity for Zoom with some of them as well. And then lastly, a big shout out to Mrs. Emick, our school nurse, who's working with local businesses to get some meals donated for Thanksgiving for some of the families in the Valley that are in need of that. But staying busy. And again, I did just a huge shout out to everybody for stepping up with the sub shortage and helping fill in when needed. It's been great to see the teamwork.
Thank you. Okay, with that then we'll move on now to, I guess, to the agenda items. And the first agenda item on G1 tonight is a request for approval of an agreement between the District and Blast 17 for ARP IDEA funds in an amount of $75,575 to be used between July 1, 2021 and September 30, 2023. And there was an attachment associated with that. Do we have a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? If not, hearing none, then all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, item G2, requesting approval to return to in-person school board meetings to be held at the high school effective December 7, 2021 meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions, discussion?
Yeah, I guess I have a bunch of questions. Does the holiday concert schedule permit the December 7th meeting to be held at the high school? Are the concerts later the following week? I guess that just occurred to me as I was looking this over.
Well, I can take a look at the calendar real quick here.
I'm
It's on
looking
there.
at it's on the minutes here, December 1st, 8th, and the 15th. Or I'm sorry, the 8th and the 15th.
Doesn't seem like there's a conflict in that regard, but I don't know that for sure.
Would it be a conflict in setting up the stage for that concert? Will risers be on the stage or anything that would be difficult for the board to meet there?
But typically the risers are, further back than what the board's tables would be. You'd have, the piano would be out front, maybe a few instruments, but yeah, there'll be setup time for sure, without a doubt.
And I think the last we heard, I know Ron had the idea of both in person and virtual, but was the last we heard that at least it's not technologically possible for members of the public to meet virtually and offer public comment. I mean, I guess they could live stream it, right? But that we don't have the technology to do. Am I remembering that right, Ron, that you had suggested that?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
It can be done. But we don't have the technology on hand right now. It is a possibility, absolutely. But we can't do it technology wise. So it's expenditure the board has to be willing to invest in, that's all.
How does, Mr. Schimmel, how does the teachers interact with students when they are live streaming classes when they're remote? How do they interact with kids when they're doing that?
To ask a principal that question.
I mean, they do interact with the students. So what's the difference in the technology, I guess, is what I want to know.
I guess would it be like projecting it? Like obviously one person could be at a laptop. I mean, I guess then they could share the. Would it be like an audio issue? I'm not sure.
The audio from the stream would have to be piped into the auditorium, and then our audio from our microphones would have to be piped out to the people that are out there listening in. I mean, it's doable. We have not done it, and it would take a little bit of work to set it up. I'm going to guess we don't quite have the right pieces of equipment. We probably have some of them, but not all of them to do it right. I can envision, you run into things like echo, where you have sound echo and it just starts reverberating. So it would be set up in technology. So it's doable. It's just a question of do we want to go that far? I mean, we just heard that it looks like mid-January, if we can believe it, that we will have the mask mandate lifted, and for certain, at the very least, our meet, we can go back to in person then. To me, regardless of what our county numbers are, our meetings can go back into the auditorium at that point, as far as I'm concerned. But here, my fear is this, and I don't want to presume I'm going to be president next month either. So God help the president next month. But if we don't have mask compliance, and here we are, we're being sued in a federal civil lawsuit over masking. And we're going to go into that meeting and somebody isn't wearing a mask, and we're going to look the other way, right smack dab in the middle of a federal lawsuit. I don't think so. That's the stupidest thing we could do. The flip side is, I don't care to remove that person. They're our community member. I don't care to engage in that. They belong, they're us. We are them, And so I don't want to have somebody removed. We can have anybody we want in these meetings now virtually. And if they don't have good technology, they can go to a friend's house that lives where they have better technology and join in that way. This is short term. This isn't the rest of our lives. No way. So it looks like we only have 2 more months of this nonsense and we can be back to normal.
Not number one, Mr. Schimmel, that's not assured.
No,
but
I know.
I do want to say this, that you've already shut down one meeting because of attendees not wearing masks, and then it was moved outside. So it's not like a meeting hasn't been shut down before. I think that our community needs to be given the chance to prove themselves that they will comply, to benefit themselves and us to have these meetings in person.
Okay, and Ron, I was going to respectfully ask that because I wanted us all to be clear on what we're voting on. So it's assumed that it's clear to all board members and all community members who would attend that until hopefully January 17th, that all participants would be required to follow the DOH order.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, that's helpful to have that. I don't want another standoff and like Davis. So that's clear to everyone that again, hopefully by January, I think the January 25th work session would hopefully be mask optional, but.
Sue, I would hope by now that the community sees the benefit of complying with the masks, so we can get these meetings back in person, because having the meetings in person are a benefit for the community, and I feel to the board too. So, and that's why I think that we need to, we can't go on, well, if Governor Wolf raises the mask mandates, we all know how things have changed from one day to the next. So I would rather see us make a commitment to get the board meetings back in person.
I wish I had your optimism, Ron, but I've had specific people tell me they will not wear a mask. They will come to the meeting and they will not wear a mask. And I am concerned, as President Schimmel said, I don't want to have that hassle of having to enforce that and go down, do all the setup, have the meeting, people refuse to wear masks, then we have to cancel and go back home and get on our computers and go Zoom for 2 meetings. It just makes sense to me to wait until the mask mandate is lifted And I think it will be. Unless our transmission rates keep increasing, and you go out in the community and very few people are wearing masks. So that doesn't give me confidence that they will wear them in the school board meeting as well. I'll go with
Just
what
a
the board
just a
votes, but I can't
clarification.
support it.
Like to make a clarification. Ron, we didn't shut down the May meeting. We actually conducted the business we went there for, and even conducted a little more business that we probably shouldn't have conducted, but that's an opinion. So we did finish that meeting. So that shutting it down, that's
what
and
what
remember
I mean, Dave, what I meant, Dave, was the meeting was shut down inside. It was shut down inside and moved to the outside. Yes, I realize, and I do know that we still held the meeting, but it was not held inside. It was shut down inside. That's what I meant.
Okay. Yeah. And yep.
Right, but it would be assumed that obviously on December 7th, that couldn't happen, right? I mean that refusing to wear a mask inside the high school auditorium would be grounds for, like Dottie said, the meeting being canceled and going virtually.
Don't forget, we have to reorganize that night, or we have to reorganize within the first 7 days. So if we don't reorganize, we'd be immediately have to have a special meeting later that week to reorganize. We have to do the reorganization. We could put off the business meeting for another week, but we can't put off the reorganization. That's a mandated, that's a statutory thing. We've got to do that. Well,
would you and your group, Ron, stand at the front door as people enter, and I'll stand with you. I mean, again, I'm nervous, but like you said, I'm tempted. And I guess, like you said, I've had probably 30% say I want it in person and I will not mask, and 30% say I want it so much in person that even though I hate masks, I'll wear one. And then probably 30% say I like the virtual format because I feel more comfortable speaking or whatever. So
I'll be honest with you, Sue. I'll do whatever it takes to get us in person. If it takes me standing at the door and asking everyone that goes through that door to wear a mask, then I'm willing to do it for the benefit of our community, because our community needs to be able to stand in front of us when they speak, and they need to be in front of us when we speak. And so, like I said, I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
okay, and both masks and decorum will be enforced according to the policy for whatever public comment or participation.
Ron, hypothetical situation then, if you were board president and you had people unmasked, would you ask the administration to call the police and have the police come and remove that person from the meeting for trespassing? That's the implications. That's the implications.
Actually, the school district employs personnel that go to games, sporting events, and they used to be at every board meeting. And if you as a president feel that you're going to have a problem, request them security personnel to be at the December 7th meeting.
They don't have the authority to remove someone physically. That doesn't work. That's it. The reason somebody would have to be removed from the premise is because they're trespassing, they're violating a state mandate, and that requires law authorities to do that. It doesn't, our security people, that's not the way that works. We've discussed this with the chief of police at the borough. How does this even occur? And he explained what the legalities are and what the process is. The board of directors, we don't have the right to ask that to happen. We have to have the responsible administrator who's at that meeting request the borough police to remove this trespasser. That's the technicalities of it all. We've talked to them, and that's why I don't want to do this. It's distasteful. I'd rather have people mad at me for 2 more months than have one of my neighbors removed from a meeting. That's distasteful to me. They're our neighbors. So we can fight about whether we should be in person or whether we should be on virtual. I'd rather fight about that and complain about that than have somebody removed, or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. I don't want to do that. That's just, no. So
And
anyway,
you don't want
okay,
to do your job as a board president.
I don't want
that's
to do
your
that to
job.
my neighbor. I don't want to treat my neighbors that way.
Well,
I'd rather have my neighbor mad while we do virtual, and then we'll eventually get this back together in person.
Well, okay, so what if, so you're saying we have to do the reorganization. So what if there's a clear implicit agreement that if even one person refuses to mask, we do the reorganization, the meeting's adjourned, and then the January meeting is held virtually, given that you were proven right. And again, then we can revisit it for the January 25th work session, because hopefully the mask mandate will be retracted by then. I'm just.
I just don't even see why I honestly agree with Mr. Schimmel. Just wait the 2 months and then we'll be back in person. There's just as many people that want to stay virtual as there are that want in person. So we'll have those people angry with us. We just have to do, I think, what's right. And what's right is following the mandate. And if you look in the community, you know, people are not going to mask, or they'll wear their mask in and they'll take it off when they get in the meeting. I wish I was wrong with that, but I honestly don't think I am.
One thing I don't understand, Dottie and Dave, is why you two think that the community of Montoursville Area School District is that much different than these other school districts that are having in-person meetings. Our people are not bad people.
Didn't say that.
I didn't say that. I didn't say
And I think a lot of other districts aren't following the law. And again,
Yes.
I think
You're right.
they're being loose.
And they're not being sued in a federal civil lawsuit by the community. So please, we're in a whole different situation than other school districts. We have to we have to do exactly what the law said we had to do. We can't deviate it from it, because that prejudices our standing before the court. I can't even imagine a federal judge saying, "Why'd you look the other way, Montoursville?" I can't even fathom that. So it's ridiculous to think that. No, our people are good people. We just have different ideas on what we should do about this, and we're not going to agree. So I don't know. We aren't going to solve this. So let's put this to a vote right now. Brandy, do a roll call vote on this. So do we return December 7th to in person? Brandy, roll call, please.
I just want to make one last statement.
That
I am in no way saying that we should do anything illegal and look the other way. I am saying we need to give our community the benefit of the doubt and let them give them the chance to prove themselves in an in-person meeting.
Actually, it won't be the community. It'll be 3 or 4 people will be the problem. Okay. It won't be 100 people without masks. It'll be 3 or 4. And that's 3 or 4 that are breaking the law. We can't have it. We can't. So Brandy, roll call, please.
Certainly, Mr. President. Dr. Berry.
For me twice, but I'm going to say.
Yeah, a yes. Sorry, Sue. A yes is to return, and a no is to not return.
No, it's virtual.
Right. I'm going to say yes with the meeting being adjourned if there are any problems.
Those caveats aren't in the motion, Sue.
Just yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Kunkel.
Abstain.
Mrs. Marriott.
No.
Dr. Mathers.
No.
Mr. Schimmel,
No.
Mr. Snell,
Yes.
Mr. Ulmer,
Yes.
okay, so I have 3 noes and 3 yeses and 1 abstain and 2 absent.
Haven't run into this yet. So
It means it was defeated.
I think you're wrong.
Well, okay, but I guess let's put it back on the agenda for December.
Yes.
If you want it in December, we'll do it again in September.
Thank you, Sue.
All right. Moving on to G3. It's the approval of the Act 1 Special Session 2006 resolution to limit the 2022-2023 real estate tax increase to not more than the established Act 1 index.
So moved.
Move to approve.
So we have motion in the second. Any
Second.
questions? Any questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. And moving on to personnel, P1, we have approval for the following addition to the extracurricular activity position for 2021-2022. Sandra Trick as the high school newspaper advisor at a stipend of $523, replacing Emily Sweeney. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. P2, approval of the following leave of absence for a member of the professional staff from February 14th, 2022 to May 30, 2022. Motion to approve that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
No questions. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. P3, approval of following addition to the coaching staff for 2021-2022 school year. Dylan Casal for boys basketball, the 9th grade coach at a stipend of $2,600 and replacing Mike Heimbach.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Okay. All in favor, say aye then.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. And P4, approval of the following addition to support staff effective November 10, 2021. Fawn Carr as a paraprofessional, 4 hours a week or 4 hours a day, I guess, at $12.50 an hour, replacing Matthew Fortin.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. And then moving to transportation, T1, approval of Promised Land busing rates in the amount of $23.66.64 and $23.03.72 for October 2021. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. And moving over to policies, PY1, that's approval of the second and final reading of the policy 218.3 bullying, cyberbullying policy.
Motion to approve.
Oh,
Second.
I don't,
A motion in the second, discussion.
Sue, did you have something to say, or should I ask my questions?
well, I was going to suggest a public policy committee meeting because I've had a number of members of the public contact me that they wanted to have input. So I guess I'm sorry I was too slow, but I was going to move to postpone until that. I don't know if that would be a special meeting or that would be done at a regular board meeting. But I didn't want to rush this through. And a couple people did contact me. Basically, what's in there now is what has to be in there, but my understanding is that the board can go beyond what the law says needs to be in there. We just can't do less. And I wanted to make sure that we didn't want to strongly consider whether we actually wanted to add some things that went beyond the law with the bully policy. So sorry if I was too slow there, but those were my thoughts.
Well, so we can, I mean, we can revise those at any time. That's permissible. There's only one reason that we might want to do this tonight, and that is, I was talking to Christina, it has helpful implications with regard to Title IX, that there was a package we needed to get into Title IX. I'm paraphrasing what she told me, that we wanted to get it in October. This policy completes a package that has to go to them. We can revise this, and you can have a committee meeting. I think I'd recommend a committee meeting and not try to do it at the regular meeting, only because we never know how long our meetings will take. So you might get shortchanged on time. So having a committee meeting and to work on this policy and maybe a 06 at that time as well. So
okay, so we could approve
Kill me.
the basic require. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Richard.
No, I'm sorry. I was waiting for you to finish. I'm sorry.
So we could
My
approve the
computer's
numbers
back.
that have to be in there with the understanding. Because I was a little worried about, with holidays coming up, when to schedule that special meeting to optimize public attendance. But you're saying we could approve this or vote on this, but literally with the understanding that in the next month or two, we were going to discuss additions and further revisions of it.
oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, perfectly.
We can also vote it down until it's worded right also.
Well, I think Sue's saying that just there's some additional things we can do that go beyond what's in here now, that what's in here now isn't necessarily bad. Maybe it's just not as much as we want to do. And so it's better to have this in place. This is sort of the latest iteration that they provide for us in updating policies, but we might want to strengthen it. And we can do that. It isn't bad. It just, maybe not as far as we want to go. But it does help in terms of, it does help in terms of Title IX and the paperwork we need to get in regarding that.
Dave, and I
Yes.
apologize for blurting out. My computer has been going glitchy all night and it's been killing me. I apologize. I would urge the board to make the modifications as a second reading as they are, correction, so to speak, to your board policy. It does not preclude you from bringing up additional items in the future that may or may not be something you want to do. I wouldn't hold up approving your board policy second reading for that purpose. I think it's important to add the things that needed to be added. They were added for a reason. And Title IX compliance is certainly a legitimate and pressing need to make sure you're in compliance, et cetera.
Okay, and I really do like what was added. So I think, there's more documentation, more, each step along the way. So I do think it's already a stronger policy.
I would be okay with approving it as is because of Title IX, but as I've had some conversations with you, Sue, as well, there's some things that I would like to add it to it to make it a little stronger too. So absolutely, as long as we have that on our agenda to revise again, that would be okay with me.
Mr. Schimmel,
And
could we have a roll call vote? And the reason why I want a roll call vote is because of, I want to see how Mrs. Berry votes, because she's the one that brought up the concerns. And for me, if she is comfortable with moving forward with this, I think that I could follow suit with her, because she's the one that has the concerns, that wants to go through. So could we have a roll call vote on it?
Yeah, sure. I think of course, good thing we don't do the randomly though, Ron. But I think Sue's saying she wants more beef, but what's here is a little shy. It's not bad. It's just shy. Is that characterization right?
And what they added clearly improves and again provides for more documentation. Was the claim substantiated? Was it not substantiated? So no, it's already much better, but I just want it to be optimal, and our community may come up with some things that we think would improve it even further.
Well, certainly as a policy chair, you're in the driver's seat on that. So yeah, Brandy, go ahead and take a roll call on that.
Mr. Berry,
Yes.
Mr. Kunkel,
Yes.
Mrs. Marriott,
Yes.
Dr. Mathers,
Yes.
Mr. Schimmel,
Yes.
Mr. Snell,
Yes.
and Mr. Ulmer.
Yes.
Okay, Sue, got some work to do then.
And maybe we can have an experimental in-person policy committee meeting to verify
There you
that
go.
everything's going like
Sue,
it should.
it's your committee. Go for it. All right. Last item, A1 under academics, approval for a waiver tuition to be granted to student 221140, grade 12 for the remainder of the 2021-2022 school year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, ayes have it. And that concludes our agenda items. And we can move on now to other reports. We probably will, I think we started at 7:07. Why don't we entertain a motion to extend 30 minutes? I don't think we'll make it to 9:07. So motion to, do we have a motion?
Motion to extend.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, meeting extended. All right, go ahead, Dr. Mathers, would you walk us through the other reports?
Okay, first up is PSBA, and I'm the liaison for that, so I'll give that report. On October 23rd, the voting delegates from member school entities across the state came together virtually, and they adopted the PSBA's 2022 legislative platform, and that serves as their official record of their position. The main principles that they voted on, the legislative priority issues, were to enact, these are for the state, to enact meaningful charter school reforms, to provide a significant continued financial investment for school districts, to address Pennsylvania's pending pension funding crisis, and to provide for the safety and mental health needs of students. And then they adopted 4 core principles. And number 1 was to support an effective child-centered public education. Number 2 was to strengthen the work of local school boards. Number 3 was to support for increased equity and accountability. And number 4 was to secure adequate and equitable funding. And that's like a 9-page report of printed very fine print. So I'm sure it's even longer than that. So there's a lot of sub issues under each of those principles. If anybody wants that information, just let me know and I'll get it to you via email.
Dottie, could you explain that third one? The definition of that third one?
The increased equity and accountability.
Yes.
Let me open it up here. It's really speaking to raising student achievement. The beginning paragraph under that principle says that PSBA believes that a well-aligned public education system requires consistent standards of accountability and performance in order to raise student achievement. Within that system, all public school entities should be expected to raise student achievement and close achievement gaps. They should be able to demonstrate how their programs meet the needs of all their students. PSBA supports high-quality educational options within the public school system. PSBA believes that all schools or educational management organizations receiving public funds must meet the same financial, academic, and ethical accountability standards. PSBA also believes that state funding, is that enough, or you want me to keep reading?
That's good. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Could you send that report?
Sure. I'll just send it to the school board.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Dr. Beery, do you have anything more for the policy committee to report?
OCD was kicking in, and I think it was the August meeting, you had those questions about section D of policy 006. I guess I'd like to request the second and final reading of policy 006. Ooh, I like 007. Be on the December 7th agenda. So I had it done yesterday, so I didn't quite get it done in time for tonight, but I'm happy with how it is now. So we can vote on that in the next meeting, hopefully.
And just let the superintendent know that, Sue.
Yeah, and then I guess if anyone, I'll try to survey people in terms of maybe when the optimal time for this public policy committee meeting on the bully, I want to hold it when as many people can be there as possible, as opposed to everyone's stressed out with the holidays and only 2 people show, you know what I mean? So I'll accept any input about the ideal timing of that meeting to optimize attendance.
Okay. Mr. Ruffing's not here tonight for the IU representative. Anybody have a report for him? No. Okay. LCTC, Mr. Schimmer.
Yeah, the Lycoming Career and Technology Center, JOC, met last, guess it was last month, and we hired a new executive director. We sort of poached one of the administrators from one of the locals, sending members. Nate Minium is the new executive director. He comes from Warrior Run, and he was a principal down there. And he was not in the first round of candidates when we had our selected candidate drop out. So we went for round 2, and lo and behold, in round 2 we had some additional fine candidates decide to apply, and we're satisfied. We think we got a go-getter. It's going to be a different arena for him, but it still involves students, and that's his strength. His work with students is what really matters, and he'll learn the technologies and the trades, but he's going to be a good administrator there. So we're really satisfied.
Good, thank you. Mr. Conkle, anything more on Memorial Gardens?
No, appreciate the time tonight for allowing us to present, and thanks to the folks who cleaned up Memorial Gardens on Saturday. I was out of town, but Mrs. Tira kind of took the lead, and her kids got it done. So, and thank the borough for picking them up.
Thank you for all you've done for the gardens. Mr. Ulmer, anything on budget?
Nothing to add at this time.
Okay. Mr. Albert's not here for Building and Grounds. Mr. Ulmer, back to you on the foundation. You said you had a meeting last night.
Yes, and I think a very productive one. We did hear from one of the board members that had reached out to a natural gas corporation that they're interested in funding a 2-day program that's designed for middle school students. It's basically I want to say an add-on piece for your STEM program. It's it's titled Mobile Oilfield Learning Units. And they bring stations in and students go through them. I've taken the material that the board member supplied and given it to the superintendent, who will, I think, in turn distribute it to the principals that may find an interest in perhaps adding this into next year's curriculum. As I say, it is something that this corporation will fund using, I think, EITC money. If anyone's interested in it, I email me and I will send you a copy of the material that was shared with me. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Conkle, anything on extracurricular?
I did speak to a parent of one of the girls' soccer team. They were playing apparently YM missing tonight. Apparently they lost 3-1 in the state, I believe, state playoffs. So unless somebody knows more than I do, I heard that through a parent. So congratulations to the girls for a season well done.
Okay, back to you, Mr. President.
Mr. Schimmel?
Yes, sir.
Before we move on to public comment, I would like to request 2 motions to be added to our December meeting. The first one, I would like a motion to rescind the vote to establish the position of Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Communication. And the second motion would be a motion to fill the position of Curriculum Coordinator, as well as giving the job description with it. So I'd like to have them added on to the December 7th meeting, please.
And Board Secretary is recording that information, and she'll make sure that gets on the agenda then.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, and we'll move now to the final public comment section. Again, it's residents and taxpayers of the district. Comment on matters of action, official action, or deliberation, or any matters of concern in the district. Again, the public gets the one unpaused 3-minute time frames to express their comments. So this time we'll open up the window for folks to raise their hands.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I real quick just had 2 things. Tanya Schaefer, South Montour Street, Montoursville Borough. I first of all I missed earlier comment. I had a prior engagement, was just able to get on, so I apologize if I repeat something. I did want to thank Sue for her work on the bullying policy, and I did want to voice my support for the Public Policy Committee to address some of that. I think your parents are your best asset in determining what that policy should read, since they're the people that are dealing with this, every day with their kids. So I do appreciate the initiative that the board is taking to make that policy strong for our children. I also did secondly want to express to the board my thanks for Mr. Hanner. We had some issues with my son in school, and he was very quick to give me a call back and work through those issues and come to a very reasonable accommodation for us in regards to some masking issues with my special needs son. And I did want to, I know we hear a lot about the masks with the kids, and I did want to just make sure that the positive was also being noted along with the concerns. So I just did want to make sure the board knew that there are, your administrators are working as much as they can within the confines of their policy to try to accommodate where they can. That's all.
Thank you.
This is Brenda Oberheim, 192 Woodland Court. I'd like to thank Sue and Ron for stepping forward to say that they would stand for public in-person school board meetings instead of Zoom. There's two things that have been, really milked for all it's worth, and that is this mask mandate by the governor. And secondly, the fear of people won't do what they're supposed to do and wear the masks. And that, the police are going to have to be called. And are you willing to call the police? And are you willing to make them do this? And the people are afraid that they can't stand up and say what they want to say. And on it goes. So I completely disagree with all that fear mongering to keep the accountability at the least amount and stay in these meetings or keeping the meetings Zoom. And I think that's all I have to say, and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Tim, not seeing any more hands. Go ahead and close that window. And I guess before we ask for a motion to adjourn, I think it's appropriate to really extend some thanks, Mujo thanks to Jen Marriott and Scott Conkle and Bill Ruffing for the years they've served on the board. And you've done great things for the kids in this district, and really grateful for you guys hanging in there through some rough times and sticking with your duty and fulfilling what you were called to do. And so thank you very much. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thanks. It's been great working with all of you as well, and just wish you the best in continuing to serve our community and do what's best for our students of Montoursville.
I'll ditto what Dr. Marriott said.
Thank you.
All right, with that, folks, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Good night.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.